y'all. So check this out. This is one of the coolest laptops that you'll see this year. This is the world's first dual screen 14-inch OLED laptop. It's the ASUS Zenbook Duo, and it looks straight out of the future. You can see that it comes in this pretty cool design. Obviously, the computer is the main component that has the two screens, and it has this detachable keyboard, and you can kind of configure this in a couple different orientations. Obviously, because this is completely, I guess, like foldable, you have the option to rock it in like pure laptop mode. So that's when obviously a traditional look, you have a laptop with the one screen. That little Bluetooth keyboard kind of snaps onto the front, and this gives you, I guess, the look and feel of a laptop. But if you actually look around the design first before we go through those options, it's still very relatively thin. Like, there's no problem taking this with you in your backpack, traveling around. It gives you that versatility when you want to use this with the one screen, or when you actually sit at a desk, you can kind of break it out into its different components. So the overall weight, it's just around 3 pounds. Keep in mind, this is a pre-production unit, officially being announced, I guess, when you're watching this video or at CES, so available early in the year, but still very usable ports. You've got a full HDMI slot, obviously a headphone jack, and on the other side, USB-A. You've got the 3 USB-C ports, 2 of which are Thunderbolt, and like I said, they have that Bluetooth keyboard that kind of snaps in when it's in that clamshell or closed case design. So to the overall screen, so one of the screens, or I guess technically both, but when it's closed like this, it's 14 inches. It is an OLED panel, so super nice to look at. So it's 3K, 120 hertz. You can toggle that between 120 or 60, kind of depending on what you're doing, and obviously to save battery life. But I think this really shines when you remove the keyboard. Now you have the 2 displays, and this becomes a 19.8-inch workspace. And obviously depending on that orientation. So if you actually look at the back, it does have a little hinge mechanism. With that, you can kind of place this down, and you can have this in, I'd say, the second mode, which is true like dual screen. So now instead of having a separate monitor which you need to connect to, you can have everything in one form factor. So you can have, you know, top for productivity, bottom for video or media consumption, vice versa. Or if you are, say, playing video games, you can use one to stream snipe, however sweaty you want to get. On the internals, it's actually rocking the new 14th gen Meteor Lake processor. That's Intel's new integrated SoC processor. From what I've seen, performance has been like 30% better from last gen. So obviously great performance. I was able to play like Call of Duty totally fine. I'm not saying that I was good in any regard, but I did kind of stream snipe a bit to give myself a bit of a competitive advantage. And that's the main, I guess, like dual screen mode. Or in terms of productivity, this is also great if you are a coder or a student. So you can actually now switch this into technically portrait. So now you can have things like, say, coding on one side, spreadsheets on another, or however you like to stay productive. Also just great for browsing the net since it is in that vertical orientation. So that's a kind of display method or display mode number 3. Option 4 is sharing mode. This is really targeted towards like business users. So I used to work an office job back in the day. This would have been so handy. When you have a laptop, say like a deck or something, you can have some information on one side of the screen, and then you can share that to another person that's sitting on the opposite side of the table. So you're looking at the same deck, the same info, and you don't have to have that weird laptop like orientation where you have to like rotate it amongst 2 people. So that is number 4, sharing. It's dope. Use case wise, I'd say that's pretty specific. And I guess last but not least, this is still theoretically like a laptop mode, but you can have information on the, I guess, like main display up top, and you can still have the keyboard off to the side beneath it, or you could actually be typing with this in a completely different location. So really kind of endless on how you use it. It really depends obviously on your workflow. But like I said, this is one of the coolest laptop designs that I've seen. I love the fact that you can get, you know, cascading effects on the screen. So you can have something continuous, you can have them mirror each other. And the thing that I'd say I'm the most impressed with is the actual build of it. Even though, once again, it's pre-production, it'll probably be a bit more polished. It's still, you know, not too wonky. I've seen other implementations of dual screen laptops that have been definitely way more buggy. This seems a lot more polished, and the build of the computer and the implementation of this Bluetooth keyboard, it does have connector pins on the bottom. So once it is locked into place, it is charging, but all-in-one portable laptop system that's using Intel's new Meteor Lake processors. I think this thing will be a huge hit. Let me know what you would use it for down below. That's kind of of like laptop number one in terms of what ASUS is coming out with. The other one is, I wouldn't say more practical, it's just what they're kind of known for. It's their new Zenbook 14 OLED, and this is kind of like their main power horse. It really competes with, say, like the MacBook Pro line, and I really like what ASUS is doing with their product line. They're really streamlining the options that you can choose, and also just like the design language. So it has a very similar look actually to the Duo with that machine look on the outside. I love these like straight edges. It's almost like in this midnight dark blue colorway. It's aluminum, it feels premium, and as the name implies, it's got a 14-inch OLED display, which looks absolutely gorgeous on the inside. So this is a 3K 120Hz panel. It's one of the better looking displays that I've seen on a laptop so far. Bezels are razor thin, but what makes this work so well is just the simplicity of the build and the lightweightness for traveling, which is what laptops are mainly used for. So 14.9 millimeters thin. It's razor thin, but still packed with all the ports you would need. You've got USB-A, full HDMI, 2 USB-C Thunderbolt ports, as well as a headphone jack, 1.2 kilos or 2.6 pounds. It makes this the perfect laptop to kind of like get up and go. It's actually the laptop that I've been using to edit all of my CES coverage, the one that's currently in my backpack right now. It's got a really smooth chiclet style keyboard, great size trackpad, and what I actually really like, this is like an integrated 2-in-1 numpad keyboard. So you press that little button up top and you can see the number pad kind of appear. So multi-function, kind of dope. I know that numpads, they're not used all the time, but sometimes when you are entering data, some numbers, it's nice to have something a bit more dedicated that you can toggle on or off. So that's a nice little touch. And what really tops this off, the internal, so just like the Zenbook Duo, it's got the 14th gen Intel Meteor Lake chipset, so it is integrated, it's an integrated SoC. They're moving away from like the i3, i5, i7. This is the Ultra 7, so you can spec that with 16 gigs of RAM, a terabyte, which is the unit that I've got, so should be good for the next couple years. Performance has really increased a lot from the previous gens, like around 30%. I'll share some benchmarks that I've been using. And overall, I think this will just be like a great workhorse of a laptop. So depending on which you choose, obviously kind of like their bread and butter, or if you are definitely a bit more adventurous, the Zenbook Duo, like this dual screen laptop is like straight up dope. Let me know which ones of these are your favorite. Remember, these have just gotten announced, so this is probably your first look at both. I'm definitely leaning towards this Zenbook Duo. It's just straight up dope. Stay posted for more coverage throughout the year, and I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace.